I heard Easy Wood Tools carbide cutting tools are great with acrylics, especially if you use the negative rake cutter heads. So let's see if they live up to the hype. Today I'm in the shop and I'm working on some Christmas gifts. I'm working with this acrylic pin blank, which allows me to kind of customize, create a custom pin for the person I'm giving this to. I thought it'd be a great time to do a really quick demonstration using this Easy Wood Tools rougher that I just added to the shop. Now these tools have been around for quite some time and this is nothing new, but I do have the negative rake cutter installed on the tool. And what I wanted to show you was how well it works on this acrylic. All right, so let's get to it. So I'm running the lathe speed at about 1500 RPMs. You can kind of see the shavings coming off here. And we'll work it here in just a moment. One of the reasons I bought this tool was for this purpose. With that negative rake cutter, I'd heard it worked really well on acrylics. And you can see I'm getting a nice shavings here. We're going to get a little more aggressive in just a moment. You'll see it cutting a little better. Now I'm using the rougher. Easy Wood Tools has a couple different tools in their carbide tool lineup. This is the rougher. There is a finisher with a round cutter head and a detailed tool with a pointed cutter head. I'm using the rougher, and this is, once again, the negative rake carbide tip. So I'm pretty close to round. Before I started this, I did use my spindle roughing gouge that had just been recently sharpened. I knocked off the sharp edges on the acrylic before I started using this tool. But what I like about this on the acrylic is I can just kind of keep working it down, but I really only need this one tool. Now this is a fairly simple shaped pin that I'm working on here. This will be the tip, or toward the tip, and this will be the cap. And we only have this one section here today. If you want to learn more about turning pins, you can check the video I did recently that walked you through this full process. So now that I'm mostly round, I'm going to start getting my shape refined, and I'm going to start working down here on the end toward the tip. And I'm taking slightly more aggressive cuts. As you can see there, I'm just kind of working it down. I've got the bearings on each end for the cutter I'm working on, or for the pin I'm working on. So I know exactly the diameter I want. I'm going to work down to this bearing here and that bearing there. The cap is a little bit larger in diameter than the tip. So I'm going to work, in this case, from the tip back to the cap. So I'm going to use the edge. I'm just using the edge of the cutter here. Now we're getting closer to our bearing there. What I like about this tool is the finish you get right off the tool is really, really great. Most of the time, or prior to having this tool, when I would work with acrylics, I really just used my spindle detailed gouge. And that worked pretty well, but every once in a while you'd get a little wobbly, or I'd get my shape not exactly how I wanted it. Now, this rougher is not going to allow me to do a lot of different shaping, and that's okay. On this pin, I only want to taper from this end to this end, so I'm not really looking to do anything really fancy as far as my shape, and that's okay. That's what we're shooting for here. That's what I want on this pin. So I'm kind of using that point right here to kind of get a cut going. So I'm going to stop the lathe, and what I want you to see is the finish. This is super, super smooth. So the nice thing about this is right off this tool, all I have to do is start finish sanding and then polishing. So I'm going to start with probably 180 to 220 grit right off the tool, sand it just a little bit, kind of make sure there aren't any tool marks or anything. That'll get it out really quickly and easily. And then we're right on to polishing. So my favorite part of this is really just how quickly and easily we're able to work this shape down. Like I said, I'm not doing anything fancy here today with this shape. But this negative rake cutter head is doing a great job. The rougher in this case, I like the rougher because I'm just cut. I can make my taper. And I really don't have to worry in this case about creating any low spots in the pen. I'd heard these carbide cutters, this easy wood cutter with the negative rake, was good, really good on acrylics. Of course, I'm from Missouri, so just like the state motto, we are the show me state. I've got to see it to believe it, and I really like this. Now I'm using the full-size rougher. For pens like this, you obviously don't need a tool this large. You don't need this long tool handle. So the smaller tools would work just fine if you're focused on pen turning, doing acrylics, and other projects similar to this. And that is great. That's a finish right off the tool. So now we're ready just kind of for finish sanding and polishing.